What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the NerdBall Fantasy Football Show. I am your humble host, dendrologist specializing in the conservation of the endangered Robert Woods, an astronaut aboard the Pitts 8 Moon Expedition, Pete Rogers, and I am joined by a fellow nerd, the lead saxophonist for De'Ami Brown and the Downtown Funky Crown Band, and relisher in the slow demise of Ben Roethlisberger, the working girl, Jordan Smith. Jordan, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, except I'm feeling a little existential, realizing that we're nearly halfway through the regular season for NFL and probably halfway through the season for fantasy purposes, which is wild.
It is wild. This year has particularly felt like it's just kind of like gone by, like it's all of a sudden like week 8 and you're like, oh shit, this is the halfway point in the year. I mean, in the 16 week season, but it's like, it definitely doesn't feel like football has been on that long. And yet here we are, we're almost halfway through. Do you have any, as this is the week of Halloween, do you have good Halloween plans?
Nothing concrete so far, you're listening to this, listeners, on Thursday probably, so that's a little alarming that I haven't figured anything out yet, but that's also adulthood. And do
you have like a theme of category for costumes? I know in the past you've had some good costume ideas.
Me and my girlfriend are going as Wanda and Vision from their Halloween episode.
Love it.
So we're putting the costumes together. I still have a bunch of stuff coming to be delivered that will hopefully be here before Saturday at least. So that's how top of my
Are you going full red body paint?
I'll probably just paint my face at least. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's actually that's a good Halloween costume.
What are you guys gonna be, you and your wife?
We were brainstorming like pregnant movie or TV characters that we could do. And Becca, being from the good Wisconsin area, she's not drinking because she's pregnant, but when she does drink, she gets that good Midwest accent flowing through her veins. So we're gonna go as she's gonna dress up as Frances McDormand in Fargo, and I'm gonna go as Steve Buscemi in Fargo.
Nice. You can tell your wife the same thing happens for me. Is the more drinks I have, the more like subtly the accent starts to come out.
Yeah, she goes from like it's kind of being there to it really is there. And I thoroughly enjoy it. Of course, it comes out too when she's around her family, which as we move back to Minnesota will be more and more often. So she might have a pretty strong accent by some point soon.
It goes from to pretty quickly.
Well, you'll know why you're listening to this episode, and that's because you want to get to the week 8 stats and sits, which of course is what we are all here for. And despite the fact that, as Jordan points out every week, I try to avoid them, we also do game picks. Last week I went 9-4, Jordan 10-3, and I have to say I'm really upset that I bullied Jordan into picking the Titans over the Chiefs because it got him the win. I thought for sure that was going to be an easy victory for me, but man, these Chiefs are fickle in their playing. So I am 68-40 on the year, and Jordan is 71-36. We're halfway through, and I'm running out of time to close this gap, Jordan.
This past week was actually the first time I looked at like our picks on like Sunday night to see how we did it, because I had a feeling that we like actually crushed it, and we did pretty damn well for a bye week apocalypse.
Yeah, we did good. We as a full year, I mean, I'm like above 60%, and you're probably above 70%. So like, that's not bad. That's pretty good. People pay a lot of money for you to be that accurate. So I'm just saying, if you like to put some betting lines down, you should pay attention to us on these picks that we do off the top of our head when we talk about them. So let's get into week 8, which starts with Thursday night football. The Green Bay Packers going to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. And it is rather upsetting that this game is not at full health because it's a 6-1 Packers team going against a 7-0 Cardinals game. And Jordan, we've been bitching at the NFL all season this year about like building a good schedule and not knowing how to put the primetime games where they belong. This is a primetime game where it belongs, but unfortunately COVID has reared its ugly head, and Devontae Adams isn't going to play. Alan Lazard isn't going to play. And so with Aaron Rodgers needing someone to throw the football to, a desperation start could be Randall Cobb. He's widely available in most every league, so someone you can add and stream for this week. It's a primetime game, and Rodgers has to rely on the man he knows and loves best. Like there's a reason Rodgers went out and got Cobb onto this team, and maybe it was just because he needed someone to kick it in the old man den with while they had on their off weeks. But like we saw it against the Steelers back in week 4, where Cobb saw like 6 targets and caught 2 touchdowns. And so like, there's still a little juice in those tires. I think Aaron Jones is a lock for a top 5 fantasy running back production this week. And Robert Tonyan is a sleeper tight end streamer. But to me, like, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Randall Cobb could see 8 targets against a Cardinals defense that's, average. And in a game that's going to be, certainly their offensive points will have to be put on the board by the Packers to stay in this.
Yeah, I like the play of Cobb. It just kind of seems like we got teased basically by having a really solid Thursday night game, like one of the best Thursday night games that we've had in quite some time. And now the Packers just kind of look like the 49ers from last year or something like that. They just like have so many holes across the roster. They've tried to counter that with some depth pieces, but wide receiver is not one of them. And I think the pass has got to go somewhere. We saw it last week that Tonyan was getting more involved. Like it looked more like they were actually calling plays for him this time around. So I think they realized like, hey, we should start to get him going too. So I like him as a sleeping streamer.
Yeah. I think if this game were in Green Bay, I would feel even despite all the injuries and all the absences for the Packers, I'd feel a lot more confident in them. But Arizona playing great basketball, great football. And I don't know if you know this stat, Jordan, but it's not a pretty one. Packers giving up 7.2 yards per carry to quarterbacks. That seems like not a good recipe when you're going up against Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and Kyler Murray hasn't even been
running the ball,
scrambling that much. Like, yeah, it's not exactly a designed run game for him in Arizona right now. But I am going to pick the Cardinals to win the game. Like Cardinals are missing JJ Watt, which is like, okay, fine. But like the Packers are missing the 2 guys they'd be starting at edge. They're Bakhtiari, I don't think is going to play. They're missing 2 starting wide receivers. MVS might come back and play, but also he's coming off of an injury. Right. And like when you hear might come back and play, he's not 100% by any means. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Jair Alexander missing as well.
Yeah,
it's amazing that they're 5-1 right now, honestly. So
6-1,
6-1. Sorry.
Yeah, give them the credit they deserve. I know they after that Saints game, it's been a 6-game winning streak after that, which is really nice to see. But yeah, I think if you're AJ Dillon is a good play in this game too, because I think the Packers are just going to try to really emphasize the ground game and try to pass the ball as little as possible. But yeah, I'm also picking the Cardinals. Like I said, if this was in Lambeau, I could go the Packers way, pull an upset, but in Arizona, that's going to be a tough task. Despite that it's Thursday and freaky things happen on Thursday. Let's move on into Sunday, and the Carolina Panthers are heading to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. What do you like in this game?
So rather than doing some movie quotes from horror movies or something like that this week, I just decided to do horror movie themed superlatives to tie along with my guys, because it's Halloween, so I want to be in the spirit. Hopefully you guys are feeling spooky too. Panthers, Falcons, I'm sitting Mike Davis. I think it's time. He might be like for redraft, he might be best left on waivers, not even like taking up a roster spot for you on the bench. And I'm giving this one the American Psycho 2 award. Not sure if you were aware that they made a sequel to American Psycho.
Wasn't it with Mila Kunis?
It was with Mila Kunis, which is why I gave it this award, because you think, oh, American Psycho, I liked that movie. Mila Kunis, she's great. She's been good in everything that she's in. This looks awesome. And then it just falls apart. That movie has a 0% Rotten Tomato score, which is incredibly hard to do. And Mike Davis looked good, in Carolina last year. He comes in, he thought he was going to be a feature in Arthur Smith's offense, but he's just not. He was handily out-touched by Cordarrelle Patterson last week. And right now he is the RB 38 in PPR leagues, and he's only the 36th ranked RB running back by DVOA. So it's time to cut bait with Mike Davis, especially as like other parts of the offense start to get clicking too. Like Pitsy is officially broken out, and Calvin Ridley's back. Like I don't know, Mike Davis is a bit player at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually just told Becca in order to add someone off of waivers in our home league, I told her to drop Mike Davis. And I feel very confident in that call because, yeah, he just hasn't really done anything. And especially was really, if you were holding out hope for Mike Davis, it wasn't a good look last week where Cordarrelle Patterson had 14 carries and Mike Davis had like 5. Normally Mike Davis was seeing double-digit carries out of the backfield, and Cordarrelle Patterson was doing most of his damage as a receiver out of the backfield. But yeah, against the Dolphins this past week, Mike Davis 4 carries for 10 yards, Cordarrelle Patterson 14 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. So if that holds true, Cordarrelle Patterson is the RB1 in Atlanta, and Mike Davis is now a backup running back there, and it's certainly not worth rostering if you're in a redraft league with a shallow bench. I have long picked pro Panthers on this show, but man, they have looked absolutely awful. And this could be a bounce back game for Sam Darnold because of how the Falcons defense is bad. But Lord, I don't trust it enough to confidently pick in the Panthers' favor. Are they getting all their defensive weapons back this week? Panthers.
That's a good question.
I saw some tweet that was like the Panthers could be bringing back all of these people. I mean, let's do some quick. I'm logged into my Twitter account. That's not what I want.
All I'm seeing is Terrace Marshall still out. While we fill the void here, I just want to note how absolutely hilarious it was last week that Sam Darnold goes to play the Giants at his old stadium and immediately falls apart.
Just poops the bed. Fills it with poop.
On theme with Halloween, the ghosts were still there in East Rutherford waiting for Sam Darnold to come back. They're just like, we're gonna trip up Daniel Jones every now and then when he's running free to the end zone and he's gonna fumble the ball a lot. But we are waiting for Sam Darnold to come back.
Yeah. And they were it worked out for them because good Lord, Sam Darnold looked terrible. But yeah, the Falcons 29th, giving up the 29th most fantasy points, or 29th. Yeah, no, giving up the 29th least. So I guess the 4th most. There it is. 4th most fantasy points to quarterback. So this could be a bounce back Sam Darnold game. I'm not putting faith in it. I'm going with the Falcons. The Falcons have winning some games. They're looking good. I give the Falcons at home the edge.
It looks like the only DNP right now on the Panthers injury report is Terrace Marshall, who's obviously a wide receiver. He was a DNP today for a concussion, so even he might be cleared by Sunday.
It seems like Stephon Gilmore could be on track to play, which really just absolutely shits on my Calvin Ridley. I need Calvin Ridley to start doing things.
I'm gonna pick the hot hand here with Atlanta because I can't in good consciousness pick the Panthers a week after losing to the Giants and
shat on by the Giants. It was an abysmal game. Anyways, yes, I agree. We're both in lockstep here. Let's move on to the Miami Dolphins heading to Buffalo to take on the Bills. For this game, I'm telling you should be sitting Jaylen Waddle. The Bills are number 1 in pass defense per our NEF ratings on nerdballff.com. They've allowed the second fewest fantasy points, the second fewest yards, the fewest touchdowns, and the fewest yards per target to wide receivers this year. It is just a very risky play to be firing up Jaylen Waddle this week against the best pass defense in the NFL. And while he's been having a lot of success recently with Tua coming back, like I don't see him as anything better than like a mid-tier flex play this week. I think I have him ranked as the wide receiver 30 in my wide receiver ranking. So I'm not supremely confident in Waddle continuing to build off of the really two good starts that we've seen from him these last 2 weeks against this Bills secondary.
Yeah, Waddle's been really good in his rookie season from a stats and fantasy standpoint. I don't think he's matchup proof though, and Buffalo has been playing lights out. And Miami, I'm going Bills like all the way here. Like,
oh my
Miami's
God.
just
Miami's just looking absolute. Issues. Yeah. They put up. Let's see, what did they do last week? Where's Miami? 20. Oh, I guess they lost to the Falcons close. But they got like absolutely the doors blown off of them. Well, they got the doors blown off of them against the Bills back in week 2, where they lost 35-0. And that was in Miami. So, I'm definitely going with the Bills too. The Bills coming off of a bye and a tough loss to the Titans. Like I could see them just like stomping on the Dolphins. Also, I know we're going to talk DFS later in the show when we spin the wheel of consequences or wheel of well, I don't even know conditions. Thank you, Jordan. I don't even know the name of our own game. But Stefan Diggs is priced as the wide receiver 11 on FanDuel, which seems very saucy for against the Dolphins defense, allowing the third most fantasy points to wide receivers. I know Stefan Diggs has been kind of a disappointment this year, but that's pretty cheap for a possibly a top 5 fantasy option to be, I'm going to have him in a lot of my FanDuel lineups this week. I can promise you that.
That sounds saucy.
Super saucy. All right, so we're both taking Buffalo. Titans at Colts. What do you got for this?
I'm going to commit a cardinal sin and say that you should probably play Carson Wentz. I gave him the Split superlative, M. Night Shyamalan Split movie from 2016, because with Carson Wentz, it kind of seems like he has 23 different personalities when he's playing. And right now, it's the good one that's breaking through and making some pretty decent plays. I mean, despite playing in an absolute shit rainstorm last week, Wentz has tossed at least 2 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Tennessee is also pretty low on the defensive DVOA ranks. They're not terrible against the pass because they've got a pretty decent pass rush, but they can be thrown on. This is a division matchup that shouldn't give the Colts any issues. Wentz does have 3 turnovers in the last 4 games. 2 of them were last week in the rain, fumbles. I mean, Carson Wentz has been known to put one on the turf every now and then, and the rain doesn't help. But none of those turnovers are interceptions. So I like to take that as a positive sign. He's not going to hurt you with throwing away too many bad balls at this current point in time. He might toss a few bad ones to the Titans, but the Titans secondary is like not great right now. If T.Y. Hilton comes back and Michael Pittman Jr. continues to have a solid year, then Carson Wentz is a good play.
Yeah, actually, for my roast and ghost column over on nerdballff.com, where I pick one player from each position who I think is going to have a really big fantasy game and one player who I think could disappoint. I picked Carson Wentz as my quarterback roast this week because of all the things you said. He's been the QB9 over the last 3 weeks and like putting up solid numbers and has been pretty consistent. And this Titans secondary is giving up the 6th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And that's including last week, in which they just completely shut down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. So like they were super bad. And then even after a really good game from them, they're still bad. So I think in a division matchup where this is probably going to be a pretty close game, I would assume, given how the Titans offense has been looking, that like Carson Wentz is going to have to sling this pigskin to kind of keep this in a close divisional game. And I like that a lot. I like Carson Wentz. And I also, you mentioned T.Y. Hilton. If T.Y. Hilton is healthy, I think he's a good streaming option this week too, because of the fact that we saw him come in and immediately put up numbers in his first start, returning from injury back in week 6, I think. So I like that play.
Can't believe the Chiefs are already going to trade Pat Mahomes. Wow, got to get out from that contract.
I mean, seriously, like it's the worst contract in football. It needs to be, they need to trade it right now. Like, and whoever handed that deal out needs to be fired. Like that
Albatross.
Untradeable contract. That is a John Wall, Russell Westbrook untradeable contract. Can't trade those players multiple times. Who are you picking for this game?
I am going to pick the Colts.
Ooh.
Because the Colts have a really good run defense. I'm not saying Derrick Henry is going to show up and just like not be able to run the football. That is not a true statement, but they are number one, or the Colts are number one in rush defense DVOA. So I got to give it up for them. And I think the Titans might be a little bit smoke and mirrors right now with their wins.
Interesting. All right. I'm gonna take the Titans. I liked what we've seen from them. Their defense, like you mentioned, their defense has been playing well. Really, it's been Harold Landry has just come out of nowhere to be like an elite top NFL pass rusher at a perfect time. So that front line has been really good for them on defense. And then obviously Derrick Henry is just an absolute monster. And every single time where I think Derrick Henry is going to, on a full season standpoint, like eventually not be the best running back in the NFL, or on a week-to-week standpoint where you're like, well, this is a really great defense, like against the Bills, where I was like, Bills defense is really good. This could be a bad week for Derrick Henry. And then Derrick Henry rattles off like a 45-yard touchdown. You're like, well, there we go. That was fun. So I'll pick Titans to keep the winning streak going. Bengals at Jets, and a game in which Mike White is going to start for the New York Jets because Zach Wilson out. And that is important to take note, people, because Michael Carter and Ty Johnson are both sleeper starts for me this week. This is Carter's backfield, and we've seen that been cemented. He's played over 50% of the snaps in the last 3 games. And the Bengals run defense is above average. So it's actually not that bad. And so it's not really the running standpoint that I like these two guys from. It's the fact that the Bengals are giving up the most receptions to running backs and the 9th most receiving yards. And with Mike White under center against the Patriots last week, when Zach Wilson left with an injury, Carter was targeted 9 times out of the backfield and Ty Johnson was targeted 7 times out of the backfield. So if that continues, that's not what the Jets were doing normally with Zach Wilson under center. That is a Mike White thing. He is checking down to his running backs. And that might be the Jets play against the Bengals in a week where you have to kind of like readjust the offense, retailor it to Mike White. I think they both Michael Carter and Ty Johnson are solid flex options, particularly in PPR. Like if you're in a PPR league and Michael Carter's already been on someone's league, think about adding Ty Johnson. He's, I think, like 10% roster and sleeper. And if you're in a deep league, he could be in line for, 6-ish targets and catching 4 of those for 40 yards.
These guys feel like they would be a little bit of a desperation play to me. I believe
thanks, Jordan, because I'm starting Michael Carter in all of my leagues.
I believe back in week 4, I said something like the Bengals would be a sneaky defense stream for that week. And I wish I had said it with a little bit more conviction, because I think the Bengals are a much better play now. And I think they're going to give the Jets a whole lot of problems.
I think that is very true. This Bengals team, I mean, they are 5-2, leading the AFC North after beating the Ravens. Like that was a shellacking. Yeah, I am starting the Bengals defense and Michael Carter. So really just screwing myself over there, covering all my bases.
If I'm the Jets, I'm throwing recently acquired Joe Flacco right in. Like, I'm not even going to give him time to get up to speed. We're going to hike the ball and you're going to throw it.
Which would really be helpful for my Corey Davis stock. Because Corey Davis, like if Mike White is starting, which he is, they've given Mike White the A-OK but who knows how long his leash is this week against the Bengals. But like Corey Davis with Mike White under center, Corey Davis's values, absolute poop. But with Joe Flacco hucking the ball deep, I mean, we saw Brashard Perriman for a hot stretch. What was it, last year? With Flacco under center being able to have some fantasy relevance, because Flacco does just like grip it and rip it. Also, good Lord, Jamar Chase. Like absolutely incredible. What are we doing here? I don't understand what is it's going to be absurd to watch in some number of years, like a rookie be even better than I just don't he's raising the ceilings to such heights that I don't even know what a rookie wide receiver is going to have to do to top this performance, because he's been absolutely ridiculous to start this year. I don't see this Bengals team. God, I was going to say I don't see this Bengals team, struggling or bangling themselves against the Jets, but also there's a small part of you that's like, this is the Bengals. It's in their DNA to bring all the highs up and then let everyone down. And you're coming off of a really emotional AFC North victory where you just stomped on the Ravens. Could this be a letdown game?
Everybody's been talking all week about how good they are.
I know.
Just
could get to their
smoke
heads
right up Cincinnati.
Right up the keister.
I don't think the Jets are good though. So this is
no, the Jets are absolute trash.
If they lose, I have a ton of questions for the Bengals going forward. So
yeah,
this is an important game for them.
Yeah, we're both picking Cincinnati. I would say that the Jets are allowing the fourth fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, but I have Jamar Chase ranked as my number one wide receiver this week. So I don't believe Jamar Chase can be affected by anything.
How do the Bengals keep finding these guys?
He is an eternal. Marvel, get at us. Steelers at Browns. What do you like in this game?
This probably isn't a very big shocker, but you should be sitting Odell Beckham. I think any sort of a hope that he might recapture some magic for the second or third season in a row. It's just not my Alexa's going off right now. Again.
She has some things to say about the Brownies.
She has notes.
She has notes. She got receipts.
Anyway, Odell is just can you hear it in the background?
Just faintly. She's talking her shit. She's saying her piece.
So anyway, despite the lack of pass catching options for Baker Mayfield, who might play, he said he might play, or Case Keenum, I just don't think Odell has got it anymore. He's a little bit hype. All bark, no bite. He's dealing with 2 shoulder injuries right now as well. So it's will we ever see a healthy Odell Beckham Jr. again? Who's to say? He has 7 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons combined, which is not great. That's not a lot of fantasy points spread out over the past few seasons. He has, like we said, dealt with injuries, but still, so far with Cleveland, he's played 3 games against the Steelers and has had a stat line of 9 catches on 19 targets for 114 yards. And none of those 7 touchdowns he's had over the past 2 seasons have come against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm giving Odell Beckham the Get Out award, Jordan Peele's Get Out, that is. Because it's like somebody pulled out his consciousness when he went to Cleveland and replaced it with a below average wide receiver. He's not that guy anymore. He can't be listed in the top 10 wide receivers like he used to be.
No, it's really a bummer too, man, because when the trade went down, we were all so excited. We were so hyped and we were like, this is incredible. This feels like a great pairing, given Baker being a young quarterback, pairing him with an elite wide receiver weapon. And it really just has not turned out. And I don't know, like you said, whether or not this is something that's injury related so much, if that's what it's mostly based on, if it's something that the offense just never clicked, or Odell and Baker just never clicked. And if Odell does get traded at some point or changes teams at some point, we'll see a career rejuvenation at that point. But yeah, it's been really sad. It's been sad to see Odell year in and year out with the Browns just not be able to put it together. A guy who I do like in this game, when you say that you don't like Odell, I do like Jarvis Landry coming in against Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh slot corners, Trey Norwood has been playing all right, but not great. But also their second highest snap player in the snap is Terrell Edmonds in the slot. Sorry, the highest player running the second most snaps in the slot is Terrell Edmonds, who's given up 149 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 117 passer rating. So Jarvis Landry operating out of the slot could do some damage. And we've seen him be Baker's go-to target in this passing game before. So he's a guy who I could see being a focal point with healthy Nick Chubb coming back and being able to just run and torch people yet again.
Darnell Johnson isn't going to be out of the picture either, at least not until Kareem Hunt's injury is all healed up. I think Darnell Johnson has earned himself some snaps. Yeah,
he looked really good. And interestingly enough, like against that, I guess he only had 2 catches and 2 targets against Denver. But I wonder if they try to either translate. It feels to me like they either try to move D'Ernest Johnson into a pass catching role slightly, or what they could do, which I think we and Nick has talked about this before. If you look at when when Kareem Hunt was suspended last year, 2 years ago, when they first got him, Nick Chubb saw like 8 targets a game without Kareem Hunt on the field. So like this, Nick Chubb could be a vital part of the passing game yet again. And maybe then the Browns coaching staff diminishes the carries he gets and gives some of those to D'Ernest Johnson. I think D'Ernest Johnson isn't a bad desperation play. You know, if you're just super desperate and you're starting Michael Carter and Ty Johnson, then D'Ernest Johnson, it's a good play too.
You might want to start him before Michael Carter and Ty Johnson.
Unacceptable, Jordan. Unacceptable. Who do you have winning this?
Oof.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
oof indeed.
I'm gonna go with the Browns because I mean they put in Keenum and D'Ernest Johnson last week, and honestly, it didn't look like they missed a beat.
Didn't look bad.
I'm rolling with the Browns again.
I'm gonna go with the Brownies too, mainly because I just really don't trust the Steelers, but also because, yeah, the Browns. I have to say, like, I feel like I think the Browns were the ones who were kind of holding off on a Baker extension, and the Baker situation is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting because you're right; they didn't look like they missed too much of a beat with Case Keenum, and maybe Baker's time to shine has passed in Cleveland. But I know the fan base loves him. Anyways, let's move on. Philadelphia Eagles heading to Detroit to take on the Lions. My start in this game is pretty simple. You went out and you added Kenneth Gainwell off of waivers, and you are confidently starting him this week. I would say even with RB2 upside, he's my favorite back to replace Miles Sanders, who's likely out with an ankle injury. He's the RB30 in half point PPR, even playing with Sanders. So like there's already like an established baseline for what this guy can do and what the Eagles want him to do. There's already a role for him, even with Miles Sanders there. And now without Miles Sanders, he's going to have an even bigger role. He's second on the team in targets, and the Lions are giving up the 5th most fantasy points to running backs and the most receiving touchdowns to backs. So I think that Gainwell steps into a really big role. This game could get out of hand fast, which could mean Boston Scott gets some garbage time carries, but we've also seen this Lions team to be pretty frisky. They turned the Matt Stafford revenge game into a game, and that was a lot closer than people anticipated. And this Eagles team isn't great. So this could be a closer game than many people expect, and that could lead Kenneth Gainwell to be a vital part of both the ground game and the passing game, really be the running back that kind of we've all been like pounding the drum for Miles Sanders to be, but the Eagles brass just refuses to let him be. That's what we could see from Kenneth Gainwell this week. So I like him as an RB2. If you went out and got him, you start him with confidence.
Yeah, I'm kind of through trying to figure out what the Eagles are trying to do with their offense. Like play Jalen Hurts because he's good at getting you fantasy points with his legs, and play Devontae Smith because he's really good. And I don't know, this is pettiness for my Miles Sanders stock, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. We already went over this.
Who do you think needs a new team more, Odell Beckham or Miles Sanders?
I think Miles Sanders would be better on a new team, because I think if Odell went to another team, I still wouldn't have all that much faith in it.
That's fair. Well, we are seeing running back trades. I mean, Mark Ingram just got traded back to the Saints this Wednesday.
That will turn things.
Game changer. Absolute game changer. That backfield is now elite. So maybe Miles Sanders gets traded at the deadline, November 2nd, right? Isn't that the deadline? It's at the end of this week. My God.
Fingers crossed.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, go trade Miles Sanders. Also, I feel like this is a TJ Hawkinson bounce back game. The Eagles are giving up the 6th most points per game to tight ends and the most touchdowns. So TJ Hawk had 2 great games to start the year, been a little hit or miss since then. I think he comes back confidently as an elite tight end this week against the Eagles. I am going to do it, Jordan, just to show how little faith I have in this Eagles offense and this Eagles team in general. The Lions are frisky. Kneecap biter. Dan Campbell gonna get his first win. I'm picking the Lions. Give it to me, baby. At home.
How I was going to be saucy and pick the Lions too, because I don't know if I trust the Eagles.
No, I don't. Not at all. Let's do it. We're both picking the Lions. Unanimous.
Why not?
Unanimous.
The Lions have had a few games where they've definitely outplayed expectations. So I think against Philadelphia, that's the team that you play to expectation and end up actually winning. So
yeah. I don't have a lot of confidence in this Eagles team. This Eagles team doesn't have a lot of confidence in themselves. So let's move on from them. Los Angeles Rams heading to Houston to take on the Texans, the now Mark Ingramless Texans, which, my goodness, who knows what this backfield will even look like without Mark Ingram back there.
Who knows what this team is going to look like without him.
Literally, Mark Ingram was averaging 20 carries a game. And you're like, what the fuck?
And he was producing a lot.
He was producing nothing.
This one's a little tough to call because I think the Rams are just going to steamroll the Texans. But if Tyrod Taylor is back and playing, which he might be, I say stream him. He had a pretty solid game and a half ish before he went out in that second game. He's the only one worth playing, not named Brandon Cooks, but if Tyrod Taylor does play, then Brandon Cook's stock goes right back up to it was early season form. Tyrod had 4 touchdowns in 1.5 games played. He was carving up a pretty decent Browns team before he got injured as well. He was 11 for 10, over 100 yards in that game. He was dealing in that revenge game for himself. This play gets the exorcist superlative because Tyrod is going to have to come in under center and exercise not just several demons, but a lot of demons that Davis Mills brought to the team. And of course, I think you're playing all the Rams. Stafford, Henderson, Cup. I was going to try to get cute and say something along the lines of Robert Woods being a really good sneaky play, but he's wide receiver 19 right now, so it's not very sneaky. But yeah.
I get sneaky and say that Cooper Kupp might be maybe not a bust, but kind of an underperforming. I haven't ranked as my wide receiver 5, I think, which I understand is Peter, wide receiver 5. That's not a bust. But the Houston secondary is pretty good. And I should rephrase that. Houston secondary is pretty good at limiting wide receiver production. Now Cooper Kupp is playing a man possessed, but maybe there's a slight underperforming there. But yeah, I really like the Daryl Henderson call because the Houston Texans defense is terrible and they're ranked 31st per RNF ratings. So they've allowed the most rushing yards and most yards per carry to running backs this year. So in a game where that could get out of hand really fast and we could see just Daryl Henderson get 20 carries, he seems like a sure bet to finish as a top running back option. So I like that call a lot. I'm going to pick the Rams, though I thought about the Texans for 0 seconds.
Yeah, I'm picking the Rams. Without Mark Ingram, I don't think the Texans have much of a chance.
Fair. That's fair. He was doing wonders for that team. 49ers at Bears. First thing first with this game, monitor Deebo Samuel's injury. He's been missing practice, I think, with some sort of tweaked calf or hammy or something. But if he does play, I have him as my roast for this week on my roast and ghost column because Deebo has been quietly we all of our attention has been focused on Jamar Chase and Cooper Kupp, but Deebo has been averaging over 18 fantasy points per game, and he's seen at least 8 targets and 52 yards in every game this year. His season has been equally as absurd And the Bears defense absolutely sucks against the pass. But what I'm actually going to play for this game is I'm going to continue to ride Khalil Herbert, which is soul crushing to me because last week I dropped him against the Buccaneers defense because I was like, the Bucs defense is legit. And it was a bye week of Palooza. We have tiny benches in my home league, so I couldn't hold on to him. And I was like, I'll just drop him. And I added JD McKissick. And then Khalil Herbert went off against the Bucs and ran for 100 yards against an unmovable Bucs secondary, Bucs front seven. And I was like, shit, that sucks. And then the guy who I'm playing this week went out and added him. So now I get to play against Khalil Herbert in a great matchup. He's had at least 18 carries over the last since he took over in week 5. And the 49ers defense are ranked 29th in run defense per our NEF ratings. And they've allowed a running back to score in 4 games in a row. So it feels like with Khalil Herbert still locking in this starting workload in Chicago and playing really well, he seems like a pretty solid RB2 yet again this week, and I am not thrilled with the prospect, Jordan.
Hey, I said last week that Khalil Herbert might be worth hanging on to.
You did. You told me to, and I didn't listen to you, and I apologize for that. And I'm rightfully paying the price.
But it could be just a blip, though. It could have just. I didn't get to watch the Bears and Bucs game. I mean, that game was over before it began, so I wasn't really that interested. But maybe that's what I have to hold my hat on. Maybe I have to hang my hat on the fact that the game got out of hand fast, and the Bucs were just like, "Nah, we don't care about stopping the run. You guys run as much as you want," and then they let them. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do when David Montgomery comes back because Khalil Herbert has looked like the real deal. What do you like in this game? Because on paper, my assumption would be like, the 49ers are going to win this, but the 49ers also have looked not great this season at times. Yeah, the 49ers have looked bad. I
mean, they got they got trounced by the 30-18 against the Colts last week.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Justin Fields gets his first win?
I'm still going to go with the Niners, probably. Yeah, I'll still go with the Niners.
All right, you go with the Niners. I'll go with the Bears, and it will probably sink me. What I'm trying to do. God damn it. I'm really hyping up this. I should have picked the 49ers because then that would have all but assured Khalil Herbert to have a really bad game. Nope. We need diversity on the show, Jordan. I'm taking the Bears. All right, let's move on to the afternoon games. New England Patriots at the Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. This could be a good game. It also could not. What do you like in this one, Jordan?
I would say feel cozy about starting Damien Harris. He's been going off lately.
Feel very cozy.
He gets the Train to Busan superlative, which is a Korean zombie movie about people that are stuck basically just on a train during the zombie apocalypse, which is absolutely insane. And I gave him this award because the Pats are on the right track right now. But it could be a terrifying journey for fans who are accustomed to a nice, easy trip to the playoffs. I don't think the Pats are necessarily dead. They may be on life support right now, but you might be able to bring them back. And I could see them going on a little bit of a run to sneak into the playoffs. They lit up the Jets last week, and they only are in. Damien Harris only didn't do better because the game just got out of hand. And they're like, all right, you need to rest. We are going to put this into the hands of somebody else. The Chargers are also dead last in rush defense DVOA. So Harris, if the game script is in the Patriots' favor, he should be able to eat pretty significantly. And like I said before, he's been going off lately. He's got back-to-back 100-yard games and 4 touchdowns in the past 3 games. So that's been very saucy for his fantasy floor, basically. So Damien Harris, be comfortable against the Chargers.
Yeah, love it. Chargers giving up the second most fantasy points to running backs. Damien Harris has seen 14 or more carries in every game that he hasn't been injured for. He was banged up both against the Saints and the Bucks, or the Bucks were just also crushing it. But yeah, 23 carries, 16 carries, 14 carries, 18 carries, 14 carries. This is his backfield. Love the call. He's a locked in RB2. I am going to pick the Patriots here because I'm a homer and I can't pick against my team because when I did it against Dallas, it was heartbreaking to watch. But the Chargers will probably win. But I'm picking the Patriots because I'm a real fan, Jordan. I don't pick against my team, unlike some people do on Thursday night.
I'm going to pick the Chargers. because I said all these nice things about the Patriots and then I'm just going to pick against them.
No, you're totally right, though. Like, this is the Patriots will come out with their conservative game plan. They'll run the football. Damien Harris will establish the run for the first half, and then Justin Herbert's going to go ballistic, and the game will get out of hand, most likely. Or it'll be a close game that eventually we lose because Bill Belichick decides that he doesn't want to go for it on fourth down. What are you doing, Bill? All right, Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And Jordan, let me give you a real deep cut here. Obviously, you're going to start James Robinson, who's going to smash against the Seahawks run defense. Is giving up the second most fantasy points. That's an obvious one. But here's your deep cut. Go stream Freddie Swain. And this is another desperation play, Jordan. I'm here to help the desperate because this is that time of year where the desperate need our help. Swain led the team in targets with 6 last week against the Saints running out of the slot. And Trey Herndon, who's the Jaguar slot corner, is giving up a 146.8 passer rating over the last 3 games. 94% completion, 2 touchdowns, 120 yards after catch. I think Freddie Swain could be a very sneaky flex play if you need one, given the fact that Geno Smith might look his way more often than not, and it's going to be a very favorable matchup for him.
Yeah, the Jaguars secondary is pretty abysmal right now. I thought when you were going to talk about a deep cut, you were going to go with Jamal Agnew, who was like the defensive back turned like
right, who's also somehow been like fantasy relevant over the last couple of weeks, like both against the Titans and Miami before the bye.
Yeah. This is an ugly game, and I'm not as high on the Seahawks without Chris Carson or Russell Wilson there, so it's tough for me to say yes, but Freddie Swain could be like a good streaming option, a good pickup, especially if he's matched up one-on-one with a guy who just loves to let the ball go by him.
I mean, that's what we're hoping for here. Also, don't start Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is dead to the world until Russell Wilson comes back. I kind of want to pick the Jaguars to win this and put the nail in Pete Carroll's coffin.
I would be all in on the Jags if it was in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's true.
Being in Seattle gives Seattle a little bit more.
But that's what's really going to hammer the nail in. This string of the Patriots and Chargers game, the Patriots, Chargers, and Jaguar Seahawks is going to sink me this week. This is what's going to put me in a losing record for the first time this year. It's because I'm getting too cocky with my picks. I'm going Jaguars. Let's do it, Jags. Let's ride or die.
All right, I'm going to go with Seattle
because
it's
the actual right choice.
Not as daring right now.
It's all right. We as a podcast just need to be above 60%. That's all that matters. All right, moving on in the afternoon. Buccaneers at Saints. Would have been a good game. Could have been a good game. Whoa, it's a Jameis Winston revenge game. That's a good narrative, Jordan.
I feel like Bucs and Saints games are pretty wild.
They are always wild.
So this could actually still be a good game, despite the Saints being a little like meh. Recently.
Well, they have Mark Ingram now, so.
I forgot. X Factor. That tilts the line, I think, like 3 points. I'm going to be telling people to sit Jameis Winston in this game, though. Jameis Winston gets the Bird Box Award because Jameis was blind before his LASIK, but now that he can see, it's kind of like the end of that movie, which was a little bit of a bummer. The Winston experience has been middling at best. He only has a 58.9% completion percentage and is averaging just 185 passing yards per game this year. This did not turn into the evolution of offense that people thought from Drew Brees' last noodle arm year to this year. Jameis, for what he's not doing in throwing interceptions or turning the ball over, he's also not picking up large chunks of yards or airing it out all over the field like we were hoping. So like, again, he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't exactly been letting it rip. So I'm being very careful about Jameis Winston playing the Buccaneers defense. The passing defense hasn't been that great, but it's still not a very good look for Jameis and company.
Yeah. The Bucs have been like, quarterbacks have taken advantage against the Bucs so far this year. They're allowing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th most fantasy points to quarterbacks. However, they're second in the NFL in interceptions too. And we know Jameis Winston loves to throw himself an interception here or there. So while it could be, while they have given up a lot of points to the position so far this year, like it could be one where Winston does throw a couple back-breaking interceptions. I also want to give shout out to Ian Hartitz at PFF, who tweeted this out. And it's something to think about, all those Mike Evans managers out there. Mike Evans, 8 career matchups against Marshawn Lattimore. 1 reception for 13 yards, 5 receptions for 55 yards, 7 receptions for 147 yards and a touchdown, 4 receptions for 86, 0 for 0, 1 for 2, 4 for 64, and 1 for 3 and a touchdown. So I have Mike Evans ranked like as an elite wide receiver 1 this week, and I might have to reconsider that because Marshawn Lattimore, there have been some times where Evans has gotten him, but Marshawn Lattimore has had Evans's number in the past. So that's something to take note.
I feel like during broadcasts of Saints Bucs games, that especially in the past couple of years, they always put up the graphic of Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. And I think the only thing that saves Mike Evans' fantasy days if he scores a touchdown, right, which is a very tough thing to grab. But if there's no Gronk and no Antonio Brown,
that's true. Antonio Brown dealing with an ankle or some sort of injury could just means that you have to force feed Mike Evans anyways, especially in the red zone. I am, after making a bunch of bold picks in a row, I'm going to take the easy one here. I'm going to pick the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints have finally added some more passing game weapons for Jameis, but I'm going to go with the Bucs too.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Washington football team heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. For this game, I'm fading Melvin Gordon. The Washington defense is giving up the 16th most fantasy points per game to running backs, which seems like a pretty good matchup for a running back. However, a lot of that has come via the pass. They're giving up the most receiving touchdowns to running backs, tied with, I think, the Lions, who I said earlier. On the ground, they're allowing the 8th fewest yards and the 2nd fewest yards per attempt. Now, Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are still splitting the backfield. However, Javonte Williams is starting to see more and more pass work over recent weeks. He's seen 13 targets to Gordon's 8 targets over the last 3 weeks. And with Washington being more susceptible to running backs catching the ball than running the ball, I would break in favor of Javonte Williams this week. And it's been a while since Melvin Gordon has actually had a really good fantasy game for you. I know in our running back rankings this week, Nick has Gordon ranked as his RB 27, and that feels about right to me. Kind of a mid to low end flex play is how I view Gordon this week.
Yeah, Javonte Williams has just looked like the better running back. It seems like he's been slowly eking his way towards just having a grasp on that role. I'm not sure what Melvin Gordon's contract situation looks like, but I bet you if I looked on Spotrac right now, the Broncos have an out after this year.
I think he does, or either his contract is up, or they're almost certainly moving on from Melvin Gordon at the end of this year.
Yeah, so not particularly high on Melvin Gordon right now.
Yeah. As you know, because I've been trying to get out of Melvin Gordon in our Dynasty League for 5 to 10 weeks now. And no one wants to trade for him. Upsetting. Broncos or Washington, Jordan? Take your pick.
Not even an out. The Broncos or Melvin Gordon's contract is just straight up done. He's an unrestricted free agent next year. This is a tough one to pick.
This is because the Broncos looked really good to start the year, but that was against really terrible competition. But Washington's also pretty terrible competition.
I'm gonna keep this one off my betting slip, but I'll take Washington.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna take Denver. Denver's at home. Mile High always has an edge in that sense. All right, let's move on to Sunday Night Football. Dallas Cowboys heading to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. This could be a saucy game, Jordan, given how both of these offenses we know can play.
Oh, this is a saucy game, and this is why I gave this one the Jaws superlative, because I think there's some shootout potential with this one, and with that, I think the DFS sharks will be circling this game. You're playing all the Cowboys, of course. The Vikings on that side, though, I am going to be confident again in starting Adam Thielen. He finally had a 100-yard game before the bye week. He hasn't had a terrible fantasy season because he's been catching a lot of passes and touchdowns from Kirk Cousins, but he had tailed off a little bit before that 100-yard game. So it's good to see him bounce back in that way. Obviously, the Cowboys have been known with Trayvon Diggs this year. He's been great at baiting QBs, but he's also been letting up a ton of yards. I think he's let up like the 5th most yards for quarterbacks this year. And I also believe that most of his attention will be on Justin Jefferson. That way Thielen can get a little bit more free. And like I said before, the shootout potential with this game, like Sunday night, it's going to be one worth watching compared to the Monday night game, which suddenly looks very bad.
Yeah. Trayvon Diggs has his 7 interceptions that everyone's loving, but is also giving up 419 yards and 19 yards per reception. So a lot of like Marcus Peters in him, I feel like, where Marcus Peters would get absolutely roasted one play and then the next play, make a diving interception or something like that. Nothing against Trayvon Diggs, but yeah, you're totally right that he can be beaten. He is an exceptional corner at playing the ball, but he's not like a lockdown corner who's completely shutting down opposing wide receivers. I also like, speaking of more desperation streams, I like KJ Osborne in this game, who's like quietly our wide receiver 43 in half point PPR. Like he's kind of been a pretty solid contributor for you, especially if you're in a deep league. And again, coming off of the Panthers, he had 7 targets, 6 catches for 78 yards and that game winning touchdown in overtime. So in a shootout, like I think this is one of those games where, as we all love to say, you fire up all your guys. If you got someone in this game, especially in this passing game, you play them because neither of these defenses stopping much, and this could be a high scoring affair. So play them all, play them both. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys winning this game. But I could see the Vikings making it close, but I think the Cowboys offense is too darn good and too explosive. Yeah,
I'm going to pick Dallas with the request that the Sunday Night Football crew put Trayvon Diggs' son Aiden in the booth.
Perfect.
Just put him in there and let him just clear the floor ISO for a few minutes, you cowards.
I mean, honestly, it would be probably better than whatever they were putting forward. Let's move on to the final game of the week, Monday Night Football. Oh my goodness. Thank the Lords the Manning cast is back in my life, because that Seahawks, whatever Saints game was absolute trash, and only Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. And I never thought I would say this. Them talking saved that game for me. Especially when they interviewed Tom Brady. Good shit. Peyton Manning and Eli Manning know what to do. And they make good content. Anyways, Giants heading to the Chiefs to take on the Chiefs. This is a get right game for all your Chiefs players. Don't worry about them. Fire them up. The Chiefs, I will say already at the top of this, confidently, I'm having them beating the 2-5 Giants, even though the Chiefs are 3-4, but Chiefs are winning this game. But I like starting both Daniel Jones and Evan Ingram in this game. Daniel Jones, I'm much more confident in. The Chiefs are giving up the 2nd most fantasy points to quarterbacks, and they've allowed the most rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, which is something that Daniel Jones has shown plenty of times before that he has that potential. He's 5th in non-passing fantasy points among quarterbacks this year, and he started off the year with a really solid rushing floor. So I think that this is something he can take advantage of and exploit, while also the Chiefs pass defense ranks, I think, bottom 2 in our NEF rating. So he can also throw the ball against them. Evan Ingram is a little bit riskier of a play, but if all of these injuries still are going on in New York, where you don't have Sterling Shepard, you don't have Kenny Golladay, you don't have Kadarius Toney, you don't have Saquon Barkley, with all those guys out, Ingram saw 8 targets last week, caught 6 of them for 44 yards. And the Chiefs are allowing the most yards per target to tight ends this year with 11.5. So if Ingram sees another 8+ target game against the Chiefs, like that could line him up for 50 to 60 yards and maybe a touchdown right there. Like he has top 5 tight end potential to me this week, but you just have to monitor who is healthy for the Giants. Because if Kadarius Toney or Sterling Shepard come back, they're going to be battling with Ingram for that slot role, and that'll certainly diminish the ceilings that Ingram can hit.
Yeah, this Chiefs defense is so bad that
like
anybody playing against them has a pretty reasonable floor. Yeah, it's just tough. I still like the Chiefs to win, though. I think they get back to 4-4, and then we have a whole other week of are the Chiefs done conversation.
I can't believe you say that so like not reluctantly, but so not confidently. Like you're like, I guess I like the Chiefs to win. It's like I understand that it's been a rough start to the year for them, and Patrick Mahomes is making some very uncharacteristic interceptions, but good Lord, this is the Chiefs we're talking about, and playing against the god awful New York Giants.
I mean, yeah, I still like the Chiefs. I'm glad I confidently picked against them last week, but at the same time, it's like Patrick Mahomes is still good, but this defense is so bad, and they kind of got their asses kicked in the Super Bowl, and we kind of underrate how badly a Super Bowl hangover can come for a team. And it just seems like there might be a blueprint now for beating
that.
The
definitely
Chiefs.
Seems true. So, the Chiefs blueprint does seem like it's out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Giants are the right team to capitalize on that, just institutionally, but yeah, it's still a Chiefs for me, but not as confidently and as obviously as other years.
Yeah. All right, well, there's all of our starts and sits for the week. And now, before we wrap up, as we always do, it is time to spin the wheel of conditions, wheel of conditions, where we spin the wheel of conditions and draft a DFS lineup this week in our hopes to win $1 million and fund this podcast to infinity and beyond. Shout out the new Buzz Lightyear movie. Let's spin that wheel. All right, we can only draft players from the NFC this week in our DFS lineup. That shouldn't be too much of a hindrance. Again, the wheel really wants us to win, Jordan. It is doing its best to let us win. I got to share my screen and do all that. I was like, I'm just going to start drafting, even though Jordan doesn't know at all what I'm doing. A little behind the scenes. Okay, we're back. We're ready now.
Wow. It's a super big bummer then that the Cowboys and Vikings are on Sunday night.
That would have been
and the Packers and Cardinals on Thursday night. This is going to be harder than
this might be harder than I anticipated. But we have Matthew Stafford going up against Houston. That's a pretty good pairing. It's really Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, who's just consistently been, he's not that great at actual football, but damn, he's good at fantasy.
He might be too expensive, but I would still go with him or Stafford or
get real saucy and do Matt Ryan. I like, or Sam Darnold, but do we trust Sam Darnold to have a bounce back game? I like Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford is a very good play.
Yeah. If we're trying to save a few shillings later, we can go with Matt Ryan and get him teamed up with Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley on the roster and just stack ultimate Falcon stack.
Oh my God, NFC running backs. Not a lot.
Oh, damn. We can't pick Aaron Jones either.
I know. That's soul crushing. It's against the Bucks, and I know that the Bucks just got torched by Khalil Herbert, but I still have way too much confidence in the Bucks.
Swift?
Yeah, I like DeAndre Swift for sure. Daryl Henderson I like a lot too.
Yeah, Daryl Henderson saucy against the Texans.
Yeah. All right, we'll stay put there for now. Wide receivers. I told you to stay away from Cooper Kupp and DFS. If Debo wasn't injured, I would be all over Debo because I love him in this matchup. I do like Stefan Diggs is AFC. Poop on a stick. I don't know. What wide receivers are you feeling, Jordan?
Not Mike Evans.
No, definitely not Mike Evans. Keenan Allen's kind of had a disappointing year. Let the record
He's
show.
on the Chargers also.
Oh, that's true. I know, but I was just good point.
Just
well
has to let Keenan Allen catch a stray
exactly
for the hell of it.
Where are all of these NFC wide receivers?
I'm in for Calvin.
We trust. All right. We trust Calvin. I'm telling you, man, this is gonna be the week. This is gonna be week Stefan Gilmore comes back and absolutely locks Calvin down.
What about
what are we even doing here?
What about Chris Godwin? I mean, if Lattimore is going to be busy.
No, I like that. I like Chris Godwin. Where is Chris Godwin?
He was up there.
Yes, I definitely like Chris Godwin. I'm hesitant on Ridley. I'm not going to lie to you. But I don't really know who else we go to in the NFC. Wow, the NFC does not have a lot of cheap wide receiver options. I guess.
How much is Cooper Kupp?
90, 200.
Might as well
if we do Kupp instead of Godwin. All right, Kupp instead of Ridley. And we're stacking Stafford and Kupp.
Oh, and we have to get that stack in there.
Yeah, we do. That's a good stack. All right. Let's see. Let's go to tight end. Can we stack them? Can we also then stack with Tyler Higbee?
Sure, why not? Higbee's got a pretty decent floor.
Yeah, and the Texans giving up the second most fantasy points to tight ends. I like that. All right, and then defenses, we can only do NFC. I'm just seeing how much we have to work with for a second or a third wide receiver and a flex spot if we go with the Kupp Stafford stack. NFC, what's the cheapest NFC defense we could realistically get behind? Panthers.
We could, I mean, we took Ridley off the board, so we could double down on a good Panthers week.
I do think that the Panthers could have a good week. Or the Bucks against New Orleans. Jameis throws like 4 interceptions and one of them's a pick 6.
Yeah, I like the Bucks.
All right, let's do Tampa. I like Tampa too, which gives us 10,000 to work, or what, 10,300 to work with for a second wide receiver and a flex. Not terrible. So let's go down into our budget guys for the NFC. Darnell Mooney.
He's been decent.
He's been pretty. I mean, he's seeing the targets. I am picking the Bears to win this game, which means Justin Fields probably has to play a healthy game and actually be a contributor. Could do Russell Gage. Well, we just picked. Well, no, we didn't. Could Allen Robinson finally do something? Nope, that's never gonna happen. Jamal Agnew, that's AFC. God.
What about DJ Moore? What's he looking like?
All the way up here at 7,000.
Oh Jesus. Okay. Well. Robert Woods, how much is he?
Robert Woods, keep going. Just complete. Oh, you can't have more than 4 players from a team. What? Since when, FanDuel?
That's a rule.
That's some bullshit. Because we also have Daryl Henderson. Wow, we are stacking the Rams. This is just the Rams lineup. Well, we could do my super sleeper of Freddie Swain and then try to get a running back for the flex. Or Darnell Mooney. Russell Gage. How cheap is Freddie Swain? How much would we have to work with if we put Freddie Swain?
I was thinking about Tyler Lockett too, because I don't know if he was that expensive.
No, he wasn't, but I have no faith in him, Jordan. Let's see. Freddie Swain. Find me Freddie Swain. Freddie Swain, 5,000. Now flex. Who can we get? Oh, really? Still can't get shit. Well, we can get to literally no one. This is exciting news for everyone. All right. I think we might have to, if we're going to do this Cooper Kupp, what if instead of Cooper Kupp, we do Robert Woods as our wide receiver stack? Because I don't think we have the money to do a wide receiver and a flex if we do Kupp.
I'm okay with that because, wide receiver 19, Robert Woods.
Robert Woods. I like that. Now we have 6,000 or 12,700 to work with our wide receivers. All right. If we did Tyler Lockett, fart noise, then we could work with Melvin Gordon, who I said no to. Nope, that's AFC. God damn it. Rashad Penny.
Nope.
Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell is this cheap?
Let's do it.
Oh my God. Hell yeah, let's do it.
KG.
Oh my God. Why is it so damn cheap? Good Lord. What are they doing here? Oh, wow. That was zoomed in. Tyler Lockett. We could go with 680. Who's 680? I'm really okay. All right. I like this. I think we're at Jordan. Or do we go stupid cheap at? No. This is good. God, I really wish Deebo Samuel wasn't injured because I would fire him up. But Matthew Stafford, DeAndre Swift, Daryl Henderson, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, Tyler Higbee, Kenneth Gainwell, Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Tyler Lockett, I swear to God, if you let us down this week, Lockett is either going to break our chances of making $1 million or he's going to single-handedly win us $1 million. That's what Tyler Lockett does. And our lineup. We are in. Great. Well done us. Let's see if the NFC can finally get us a win after week one. We won some dollars in week one and felt so confident. And then poor sailing since then. All right. That's all we got for you this week. Please rate and subscribe to the podcast and your podcast platform of choice and drop us 5 stars. It really makes a big difference for us and helps us get in front of more people. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at NerdBallFF. You can follow myself at Peter M. Rogers. Follow Jordan at Jordan_Smith27. And of course, make sure you check out all the amazing content we're putting out over on the site, nerdballff.com. Until next week, my fellow nerds.